Hey guys, I am here today because I wanted to introduce to you combining like terms. Over the past couple days, we've worked on some vocabulary and we worked on determining what a like term is or is not. And our next step in this process is to do some combining. So that is what we're going to work on here today. But first, let's recall what a like term is. To be a like term, it has to have the same variable, right? There was two conditions, and one of them was it has to have the same variable, and your variable is a letter that represents a number, okay? And it also has to have the same exponent, or sometimes it's often referred to as a power. But it has to have both of those things. It can't just have one of them. It has to have both of them in order to be considered a like term. So, if we look at the expression in front of us, let's find some like terms. Well, the first thing I see is a y, and it's a y alone. So, in order for a like term, I have to find another y alone, and I think I see one here. Now remember, we're going to mark these, but we said we also include a sign to the left. Now this 6y is the very first thing in this expression, so there is no sign. So really that's just saying it's a positive 5, but there's no sign there. But this 4y does have a sign, and it says minus 4y, or often referred to as a negative 4y here. So I'm going to mark those with a rectangle. Okay, so now I'm looking for more like terms, and I see my next in line is a constant. So I'm looking for another constant, and I see one right here. So we're going to mark both of them with the same color or symbol or whatever you would like to use. I'm going to circle this constant and include the sign to the left, like we said. You'll need that here today, the sign to the left. And the same thing here. Circle this constant and include its sign to the left. Okay, and finally, I see an 8n, and the n does not have an exponent, and I see another n without an exponent. So these two would be like terms. Okay, so maybe I'll underline these both. Include the sign to the left. Okay, now that we've found these like terms, our next step is going to be to combine them. And sometimes that combining means adding, and sometimes it means subtracting. And that's what I'll show you here right now. So let's start with 6y and its like term 4y here. So the problem is 6y, and then you use the sign to the left, minus 4y. Okay, so to subtract, we're just going to subtract the numbers in front, or your coefficients. So 6 minus 4 would be 2. And I just bring the y down with me. So I have 2 y's. Right? I said 6, and then the sign tells me to subtract 4y. So you have 2 is your coefficient, and you brought the y along. Okay, let's go to the constants now. So they're the ones in blue. So I have a positive 5 and minus 2, or a negative 2, right? So 5 minus 2 is just going to be 3, and it's a positive 3. So I put a plus sign here because it's positive, and there's my 3. Okay, and then lastly, I have my n's to do. So this is 8n, right? It's a positive 8n. And then I have plus n. Now remember, we said earlier that when there's no coefficient there, it's like there's a 1 there. So this is really 1n. So this says 8n plus 1n. So 8 plus 1 is 9. And I'm just going to bring the variable with me. And it was a positive 9, so I'm going to put a plus sign in here, or an addition sign. Okay, now this could be in any order. I just happened to do it in the order that I saw them, but it could be in any order. You could have the 3 first plus 2y and so forth. Order does not matter here because it's all addition. Okay, let's look at another one. Okay, in this expression, again, we have to start by finding our like terms. So I see a 5m, so I'm looking for another m, which I see. So circle, mark, color, highlight, whatever you want to do. 5m, and whoops, and then when I go to the next one, which is my 3m, I also need to include the sign to the left. So I'm including the minus 3m. Okay, next in line, I see a constant. So I will circle the constant and the sign to the left. And then its like term, minus 2 here. Circle that one and the sign to the left. Okay, and finally, I see an 8n and a 4n. So they are like terms. They're n's without an exponent. So they would go together. So maybe I'll underline these. Okay, once we underline, we are now ready to combine. So let's see. Let's start with our m's. So this says 5m minus, remember your sign to the left, 3m. So subtract the coefficients. 5 minus 3 is 2. And I'm just going to bring the m down. Okay, let's go to the constants. So this is a positive 6 minus 2. So 6 minus 2 is a positive 4. So I bring the 4 down and it's positive, so I put plus 4 here. And finally, I'm going to go to my n's. So 8n plus 4n. So 8 plus 4 would be 12. I bring the n along, and it is a positive. 8 plus 4 is a positive 12, so I put my addition sign in here. Okay? Again, there's nothing else I can combine here, guys. This is your final answer. You have no other like terms, so this is the best that you can do right now. Okay? Let's try a few more. All right. This one, if we look, has some z's and d's in there. So let's, again, start by finding our like terms. So I'm going to start with a z since it's in front, and I'm going to give it a rectangle. And if I find a like term here, which I do, minus 3z, include your sign to the left. Okay. My next one, I see d's next, a plus 6d. So I'm going to circle that one. And that matches up with this one, minus 3d. They both are d's with no exponents, so they go together. Okay, and I see I have a constant of a minus 7 by itself, and that's fine. It does not have a match. That's perfectly fine. Okay, all right, now we're ready to start combining. So let's start with the z's since it's in the front. So 8z minus 3z. So again, just subtract the coefficients. 8 minus 3 is 5. And I bring the z down. Okay, I'm going to move on to the d's, or the ones that are circled in blue now. Plus, or a positive 6d minus 3d. So subtract your coefficients. 6 minus 3 is 3. Bring the d down. And your answer is positive, right? 6 minus 3 is a positive 3. So I'm going to put my plus sign in there. And then lastly, I have this minus 7 here, which does not have a match or a partner, and that's fine. So since there's nothing that it goes with, we're just going to bring it down as it is, minus 7. And it just stays like that. Okay, again, there's nothing else I can combine. There's no more like terms. So this is your final answer. Let's look at two more. This one and one more, guys. Okay? All right, so again, my first step is to find my like terms. So in the front here, I see a constant. So maybe I put a triangle around this one. Okay? And I need to find another constant, if there is one, to match it up with, and we do have a minus 3. So I'm going to put a triangle around this one so we can tell that those two go together. Okay, next in line, I see a 6b with no exponent. So I'm going to circle it and the sign in the front. And I need a b with no exponent, which is right here. So I'm going to circle this one because they go together. And I included the sign in the front. Okay, and then last, I see a b to the second power. So I need another b to the second, which I do have. So maybe I'll just underline these two. Okay, now we are able to tell which ones go together. And we're going to start combining. So I'm going to start with my triangles. So 9 minus 3. The sign to the left says subtract. So 9 minus 3 is 6. Okay, now I'm going to go to my ones that I've circled in blue. So this one says a positive 6b minus 2b. So if you subtract your coefficients, because of our sign there, 6 minus 2 is 4. I bring down the b, and I have a positive answer, right? 6 minus 2 is a positive 4, so I put my plus sign in there. Finally, I'm going to go to my ones that I underlined, the b's to the second power. 8b plus 4b. Sign says to add here. So 8 plus 4 is 12. And I'm just going to bring down the b to the second power. And again, when I added, it was a positive number. So you have to have a plus sign in here. Okay, guys, you have to have an operation in between all these. You can't just bring down your stuff and tell me it's 6 and 4b and 12b. That's not a problem. Or 12b to the second, sorry. You have to have an operation in between them. Okay, written like this. Okay, let's look at one last one. Okay, so as I'm looking at this, I see some A's and some B's and some A and B's. Okay, so we're going to start by finding our like terms. So I'm going to start with the A in the front. So I need to find if there's any A's without exponents. And I'm going to mark them with a rectangle if there is. So there's one, and I see another A without an exponent. So I'm going to put a rectangle, and I include the sign to the left. Okay. Next in line, I'm looking for B's. So I'm going to circle this one, including the sign to the left. There's one right behind it, including the sign to the left. It gets circled. And there's another one at the end of our problem. So I'm going to circle that. So it looks like I have 3 like terms. You could have 2, you can have 3, you could have 4. There's no set number. Okay, in this problem, we have 3 that have B's. And then as I look, I see this one that has an A and a B, and I don't see any match for it. So it's by itself. Okay, so I'm just going to underline it. All right, I think we are ready to start combining. So let's start at the front with my A. So 4A minus 2A. So 4 minus 2 is 2, and I'm just going to bring the A along. Okay, so now we're going to go to our B's, and we have 3 terms to combine. So let's just start with these two. So 8B minus 6B, right? 8 minus 6 would be 2. So currently I have 2 B's, and then I need to add this 4B. So plus 4B. Remember to include your sign to the left. Right? So if I add 2B and 4B, I get a positive, so I'm putting a plus in there, 6B's. Okay? And then lastly, this one does not have a match, so again, I'm just going to bring it down. 5AB. Bring the sign with you. Okay? So as we worked through this here today, there was no negatives in here, and I purposely did that. We'll get to that next. But I tried to make these with just some positive numbers in it for our first day of this. So first job is to find your like terms. Then you can do your combining. Make sure you pay attention to the sign to the left. Okay? So there's some practice for you to do on Schoology. If you need anything today, feel free to message me. All right, have a great day, guys.